Hi there, I'm your DM and I'm a terrible person, and I know this video has absolutely abysmal quality. So I might as well be calling to you from, the side underneath a rock, where I basically live most of the time with my horrible personness. Mm. And I just wanted to point out to you that I do, in fact, think that DMs should be storytellers. I've heard people say that the DM is not a storyteller, and I think this could be further from the truth. The DM has to wear a lot of hats. And the storyteller is absolutely one of them. You have to tell a story about every person in the world. You have to tell a story about every object in the world. You have to tell a story about the history of the world and its events and the countries, politics, regions, peoples, inhabitants, factions, and deities of a world, of many worlds. You have to be a storyteller. And taking classes or reading articles and getting information on um, being a good storyteller, being a good author, will definitely help you as a game developer. I'm going to talk to you about one of the ways why. So it's a great one I picked up somewhere, and I think it's a wonderful one. And it's the use two or more senses, three or more senses. When you're a DM and you're describing a room, you walk into a tavern. Don't just say you walk into a dark and seedy tavern, dimly lit with flickering firelight. Okay, that's every ye olde tavern you've ever walked into in your imagined lives. Try, you walk into the tavern, the worn, graying wood has long since seen varnish or polishing. Soot builds thick around the mantle of the fireplace, and an oily smell permeates the room. So we've caught on several different things there, at least two senses, several different things, and we've described them. Another good one you might want to bring in there is we've gotten texture. We want to try to cover texture in there with the woodwork. You want to cover the look of things and the smell of things. Maybe you get the sound, murmurs of quiet conversation from the corners. The idea is to capture more than one sense, more than two senses, so that you bridge and build a better mental picture in your players' minds. And that's done by many authors and in many pieces of fiction, is to describe or elucidate more than one sensory description or info, whether it's sound and taste or texture and sight. You want to get as many of these, at least two or three, and you don't have to hit all five. You don't have to in every scene be, completionist and go overboard and get every single sense in every single scene. But grabbing a few extras here and there, making the extra attempt, to not just say that it was a beautiful morning on the beach, but to say the sting of the salt air filled your nostrils on the beach as you woke that morning, the cries of seabirds squabbling over dead fish and the carcass of a crab, the aroma of algae, kelp rotting on the beach as the tide recedes. These kinds of things. These are building these descriptive words. So to say that you're not a storyteller when you're a DM I think that's very, I just think that's very misleading. I think that's a disservice because it does help. It absolutely can help to take classes in creative writing or to read about being a descriptive author or be a descriptive narrator, and to help create and paint these pictures in your players' minds. I think that's great. Another thing you have to do to be a storyteller is you have to tell a story about those characters, and this can be challenging. You as a DM may have this desire to go out there and and have this world and these events and this story and this plot that's happening, and somewhere in there you have these characters that come in and maybe they want to do different things. So it's up to you as a DM to tell a story about those characters in your world. Not just a story about characters in your world, but about the characters your players are playing. And that's a trick. That's its own thing, and that is one of the things that makes being a storyteller in a role-playing game, to be a game master or a referee or a DM, whatever your term is for the person that's running the game. Uh, some of those games even use the term storyteller specifically because they are telling a story about the characters in a world. And so it's definitely can be some collaborative storytelling. You've got to consider that. But role playing games in general are their own kind of media and their own medium to create the media creates a medium for telling a story that involves many people. And being a good storyteller, being a good GM, a good game master means you're going to take the characters and you're going to give them purpose, you're going to give them a place, you're going to give them a plot within your overarching game, within your story and your plot line there. So, something definitely to consider is to be a good storyteller as a game master. So, I want to advocate for being a good storyteller in games because I think it's necessary. I think when you're not, there's something to be said for being a referee. I'm a referee. I'm going to sit here. We're going to cover the rules and be a good rules expert. And there's being a good world builder. I have this world, and I've got all these peoples and these countries and this religion and these histories, and it's all interesting and wonderful, and it will fill your imagination and your mind for decades to come with the intricacies and depth that I have given this world. World building is definitely part of being a game master. Uh, but you should really also consider that you should be a storyteller and that you need to incorporate your players' characters, your PCs, into your world and into your plot. So when you give them a place in your world, what you're trying to do is make sure that there is something that where they belong, where their character fits, where they belong. There's a place in the world for them. There's a place where they came from, where they can maybe feel like they're from home. They don't feel like a stranger in this world, unless that's the premise for their character, which is certainly an interesting premise for a character. One of my favorites. However, you want their character to belong. You want them to feel like the world is a place that they inhabit. Um, Purpose. Well, you want to give them purpose. You want to give them a reason to go into your game, not just to feel comfortable and welcome there and have a place, but a reason to come in and a reason to interact and a reason to do these things, a purpose, something they are solving that is something their character is set out to do. You don't have to be the destined one chosen by the quadrangle of deities that rule your planet. It's not always necessary. It doesn't have to be a complex transform of the entire economic dynamics through a use of magic and an interplanet. It can just be that they are important because they happen to be in the right place at the right time, that they ended up being chosen because they were there, because they fit the bill, they had the qualifications, and they were the one given the mission, or that they were the one interested enough to go find out and seek it. Work with them on that. But give them a purpose in the world, not just a place to feel comfortable, but a purpose so that they to come there to show up. And then give them a plot. Make sure that there's more going on than just, hey, we're off grinding levels and saving the world. Give them something to interact with. Give them take some pieces of their backstory and some of their character ideals. Talk with your players and work with them on their character, on what kind of plot they're going to have. Is it a romance? Is this a story about one of their characters meeting someone and falling in love in the course of a great adventure? Is it a tragedy that, for despite all their efforts, uh, something terrible happens anyway? Maybe they can overcome it. Is it a comedy? Does it all turn out in the end to be uh, all right and a good laugh? So again, just some things here from the space bubble. I just want to talk to you for a little bit here and let you know that being a storyteller is definitely an important part of being a good GM. Thank you. Take it from me. I'm a terrible person.